Hello teacher, hello students. Welcome to today's lesson on the contribution of the industrial sector for employment creation in the Ethiopian economy. Students, in our previous lesson, we discussed the output contribution of the industrial sector in the Ethiopian economy. We also discussed that in 2007-8, the food and beverages, the non-metals, and the chemicals industrial groups accounted for the significant share of the total gross value of industrial output. However, strategic industrial groups such as metal and textile products had low contribution. In today's lesson, we will focus on the contribution of the manufacturing, construction, and mining subsectors of the industry. Before we see the contribution of the subsectors, let's define the concepts of employment and unemployment. Employment refers to the number of people aged from 15 to 64 years who work for pay or profit during a specified reference period. Students, now let's define unemployment. Before we do that, I want you to answer the first question, which is a multiple choice question. Here it is. In your opinion, which of the following is regarded as unemployed people? A. People below 15 or above 64 years old. B. University students or people in prison or mental hospital. C. People who are not willing to work. D. People who do not have a job but who are willing to work and are searching for a job. I hope you've got the correct answer. The correct answer is D. Let me explain why D is the answer. People whose age is below 15 years and university students are not regarded as unemployed because they are supposed to be learning in schools and universities. People whose age is above 64 years are not regarded as unemployed, as they are supposed to be retired. Hospitalized or imprisoned people, or people in prison or mental hospital, are not able to work. If people are not willing to work and are not looking for a job, they cannot be regarded as unemployed. I hope the meaning of being employed or unemployed is clear to you. Now let's discuss the contribution of the manufacturing sector for employment. The manufacturing sector is the dominant industrial subsector in terms of its contribution to employment. According to the population census, manufacturing employed 1.6% of the working age population, that is 15 to 64 years old, in 1984. The employment contribution of the manufacturing sector increased to 1.8% in 1994. Its contribution to employment increased to 4.4% in 1999 and further increased to 4.9% in 2005. The average share of employment in the manufacturing sector over the past 21 years was nearly 3.2%. Students, as you can see, the average employment contribution of the agricultural sector was considerably higher than manufacturing sector. Average employment contribution of agricultural sector over the past 21 years was 83.7%, whereas the contribution of the manufacturing sector was 3.2%. Students, I want you to calculate the average employment contribution ratio of agricultural sector to manufacturing over the past 21 years and interpret the result. Base your answers on the average employment contribution figures for agriculture and manufacturing. Students, did you enjoy doing the exercise? Good. Let's now calculate the ratio together. By dividing the agricultural contribution to manufacturing sector, 83.7 divided by 3.2 equals 26.15. The ratio is 26.15. The interpretation is that while the manufacturing sector employed 1 person, the agricultural sector employed 26 people in the last 21 years. This result also suggests at least 2 important points. First, agriculture was a dominant source of income and employment in Ethiopia for a long period. Second, the structural transformation or the transition from agricultural economy to industrial economy or manufacturing sector was too slow and was still in the process. Students, now let's discuss the employment contribution of some of the industrial groups in the manufacturing subsectors. In 2007-8, the food and beverage group employed 50% of the total labor force employed in the manufacturing sector. The non-metal and paper and printing industrial groups contributed to 14% and 10.9% of the subsector's employment, respectively. Students, the 3 industrial groups together employed close to 75% of the total employment. However, the relative importance of the rest of the industrial groups in terms of employment was low. For example, in 2007-8, wood and furniture contributed to 2.1% of employment in manufacturing subsector. In the same year, the textile industrial group contributed to 8.8% of total employment in manufacturing. Students, we have seen that the employment share of industrial groups such as textile has been low. The decline in the share of employment of textile and wood and furniture has been mainly due to increased employment opportunities in other industrial groups such as in food and beverages, non-metal, paper, printing, and others. Now, I want you to evaluate the implication of the low contribution of the textile industrial group in light of what is envisaged in ADLI to increase employment. Discuss it with the students sitting next to you. Have you evaluated the implications of the low contribution of the industrial group? Very good. ADLI promotes the use of labor-intensive technology. Employment generation is one of the reasons for ADLI to take agricultural growth as the driving force for economic growth and industrialization. When it comes to the industrial sector, the same principle applies. Within the manufacturing subsector, for instance, product groups that have a great potential to employ more labor get the priority. Textile is one such industrial group. However, as you saw it in the previous table, the share of the industrial sector in manufacturing employment has been low due to financial and technological reasons. Thus, the textile group has to be developed to increase employment share of the manufacturing subsector and achieve more structural transformation. Students, before we wind up today's lesson, let me summarize the most important points. Watch carefully as I do that for you. We discussed that manufacturing is the leading industrial subsector in terms of its employment contribution. However, relative to agricultural subsector, its employment contribution has been minimum over the past 21 years. Students, with this we come to the end of today's lesson. Next time, I'll come with a new program on the contribution of the industrial sector to foreign exchange earnings. Until then, goodbye teacher, goodbye students.